Welcome, everyone, to the Galloway Precision NAG Industries bi-weekly podcast. Tonight it is I, Brandyn, Junior with NAG, Eric with Galloway, and we have a special guest tonight joining us, Patrick, real man of genius, our brand ambassador that we picked up sometime last year, I do believe. Because I'm pretty sure he's the happiest person on the face of the planet. So, he bought the TX22 extension from us, and the video he posted. Anyone who knows that I've been doing the social media knows that I've been trying to add more to it, and his video popped up, and he was just happy as can be with his 19+1 TX22 and just laughing and giggly, kind of like he is now. But welcome, Pat. Thanks for joining us. Go ahead and introduce yourself and let everybody know what you do.
Well, thanks for bringing me on. I am just an aspiring YouTuber, if you'd call it that. Basically just get on, have fun, shoot guns, and I've gotten on with ARFCOM here lately, AR15.com, that YouTube channel. So I film for them as well.
Right, and you get to play with a lot of fun stuff doing that, don't you?
Yeah, I'm enjoying it so far.
Now, Pat has something that I want very badly, and he's gotten in with Henry, and I keep trying to drop hints, but he just ignores me. That Henry X lever. 4570 you've been shooting.
That one's actually mine. That one was across the counter.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's also a hint.
That's also a hint.
Stop being a cheap ass.
Well, hey,
job,
I looked up the dealer pricing today, and those things, they're not really all that bad. I think dealer cost on them is right around $680-ish, something like that. I think I see them retailing for between $7 and $8. But right now, good luck finding them.
This one, at the most expensive place in East Tennessee, they're notoriously expensive, was $799, which is street price on that thing is at $799 is awesome.
Oh yeah, especially the fact that it's threaded. It's tacked out. It is. I think a lot of people who don't understand this, one of Colonel Cooper's big things about, they always like to quote him on stuff, and the scout rifle's one of them. Well, what they don't realize is one of his original ideas for the scout rifle wasn't a bolt action gun, lever action 30-30. Because technically the lever action 30-30 had been the scout rifle since its inception, because it reached out further than anything else, has high caliber, high power, and then we're finally now getting to that in the 2000s when we should have been there 40, 50 years ago. But I think it's really cool just because of the companies pushing this technology now, because there's a lot you can do with a lever gun that I don't think people realize.
The original assault rifle.
Well, they're definitely a good suppressor host. I threaded that with Rossi 92, and nothing was available. So I've been shooting suppressed 44 mag, and it locks up. It's quiet. It's quick reloading. It's just a really good platform.
As I sit here and try and answer people, and it is, and the thing of it is I think people are put off by lever actions just for the simple fact that they think they're overly complicated inside. But when you actually tear one down, it's only about 3 or 4 main parts, and that's it. And so once you get down your field stripping, it doesn't take much to go beyond that, and you can have the whole gun apart and clean, no problem.
Oh, this one, I put that Ranger Point Precision quick takedown, no tools. I can just pull the lever out, and the bolt just comes right out the back.
Oh yeah. That's actually, that segues us nicely into the rifle I was working on today.
So just talking about Ranger Point, though, I just love following their Instagram. They've caused me to have some wet dreams here lately.
It doesn't take much. You're still young.
Talk to my daughter-in-law in a little bit.
So I know the book learning. I'm on with my book learning, Marcus. So this was it is an 1895 and 4570. A customer brought to us 2 weeks ago. We're working on this and 3 pistols for him. But this was bone stock when he brought it in, and it now has pretty much everything Ranger Point makes for it. And it's got that nice takedown screw that he's talking about. It's kind of brilliant because it's stupid simple. It's just a knurled screw that replaces your screw, because in order to take this weapon down, take this out, handle comes out, bolt comes out, and you can field strip and service. But he did the whole thing. He's got the Ranger Point bullet in, the Midwest rail. He ordered the wrong rail for the peep sight. That peep sight they make is pretty pimp. I don't know if you've checked that out. It's a rail system, and then it has the plastic peep sight that lays down in it, and then you use a piece of plate to go over it, and it'll allow you to adjust up and down for elevation. And I mean, it's pretty pimp trick little setup when I got looking at it.
So, what did the gun cost versus like the extra parts? Just out of curiosity, I haven't really sat down and looked into it.
Look at Pat's face. He's going because he
He's
knows.
like, my wife's not watching, is she?
I mean, the Ranger Point stuff isn't overly expensive. The trigger, I think, was $110, but the sear comes pinned in place. When you go to pull this rifle apart, or any Marlin apart for that matter, the way that their trigger and sear setup is, you have the pin, you've got a hump on the trigger, 2 holes on the sear, because it looks like a 1911 sear essentially. You push it through. Well, you've got to hold that sear spring in place on the stock one while you're pushing all this crap together. The Ranger Point one comes all assembled. It's probably got maybe a 256 overall dimension, maybe, or OD, I should say. Roll pin holding it on, springs already in place. It's a really nice setup. The sear was steel, the trigger aluminum. It was really nice. And I think the biggest cost was probably the Boyd stock and the Midwest Industry rail. The rail goes for around 200-ish, I think, retail. The Boyd
The
stock
rail makes that package, though. It really
oh
does.
yeah,
Oh,
it really
yeah,
did.
guaranteed.
I mean,
I
it's
remember when we saw each other at SHOT Show last year. After we went from the SAR booth, I hopped over to a Remington booth and the Remington version of that, and I was just like, "Oh, this is going in my back pocket."
I'll just take this with me.
It's going to keister it. Look out.
Yeah,
Hey,
it's my wallet, or what's it called? My prison purse.
it's a prison purse. It's your prison wallet.
Prison wallet, one of those 20 things.
So there's a little bit of knowledge out there going around right now that the human anus can take up to stretch 7 inches before becoming damaged, and then they wrote behind it, so technically you could put 2 live raccoons in somebody. And I'm like, wait a minute. Back up.
Man, what would these raccoons what?
This is what
raccoons have done to you?
I know, right?
No,
I managed to get them in there. You're gonna be dead because they're coming out.
I think the question at hand here is, what backwoods person does math in raccoon? So like 1 raccoon, 2 raccoon, 3 raccoon.
It turns out you can put 2 of them up in there fine, man. It's totally fine.
This is for me and Pat then, because Pat, you're in East Tennessee. I'm in Western North Carolina. Both of us raised in these areas. That's not fair, is it? That's a Virginia thing. Totally a Virginia thing.
Or Arkansas, because I can attest to growing up my childhood in Missouri. That is totally an Arkansas thing too. It's definitely the Arkansas.
I don't remember what movie it was, but we were watching it, and the guy slaps the back trunk. 8 dead bodies, guaranteed to fit in the back of that. I'm like,
I know. It was either looking at a caddy or something. And
yeah,
like,
I
8
can't
dead
remember
bodies,
what movie.
guaranteed to fit in the back. All right, so we touched a little on some of that. So let's go on to our next topic, and this is going to be entertaining. So we're back talking on our current theme in the first 5 episodes, the budget builds, or as Josh said, economically happy builds.
Right. So, and I think Josh had a good point there. And I think when it comes to us in the industry, we say budget, we think, oh, we're saving a couple pennies. Not that we're picking bad quality worth of stuff.
Yeah.
Because we know, okay, there may be some OEM things going on here where I can go get this and not pay for the name right now. It's literally at the same place. And not everybody else gets to know that if you aren't in the industry. I actually, talking about where you always make your comments getting flack back after the show, one of the people that I work very closely with was like, we're not a budget build. I was like, okay, let me explain budget build to you real quick. And he's like, well, how does that look to my customers? I said, you know what? You're absolutely correct. So when we use the words budget, I think is we know trade secrets that make it cheaper for us.
Yeah, and I think people too don't realize, especially on the AR end of things, there's only like 4 or 5 forges. Unless they're milling them themselves. If you're getting a forged receiver, it just depends on how many they bought. That's why they're that cheap. People give Anderson and PSA a hard time, but that doesn't matter. What's the forge mark say? The reason they're that cheap is because they ordered 1 million of the damn things to be made. And so that keeps costs down, and they know they're going to sell them. So if they're selling, Anderson, Palmetto, all these different companies are selling them for between $40 and $70, they're only paying between 15 and 20 because they're ordering literally in million lots instead of just, I only need 5.
Well, I think the other thing, whoever your sponsor or your person was there, he should remember that my budget may be different than his idea of budget.
Oh,
and my customer base may be completely different than what his customer base is. So my idea of budget is going to be completely a different take. It's not knocking a product. I mean, I consider our stuff we make to be budget products, but there's people who are like, well, your stuff's high end. And I'm like, hey, thanks.
It just seems that way because it's going in
for that. But we keep the price down. It's the same product across the board for a lot of stuff, but we make totally unique stuff that nobody else makes. So yeah, it is high end because we put a lot of time and effort into production, but we're also making what people want. Whereas the AR stuff, man, there is so much stuff out there. It is just flooded with products from every aspect, So I think, budget's relative, especially when it comes to ARs or 1911s or Glock. That's all relative.
And I want to throw this disclaimer out here right now on ARs, just because since the world's ending mentality has come out. Well, and I'm not going to name names because I'm disappointed in the company that's done it, and I've always held them very highly. But I'm getting stuff from them where I'm having to take 3 or 4 charging handles and actually do gunsmithing work to charging handles, taking a file to them. I'm like, the market has officially depleted, and people are just pumping and dumping right now, and quality isn't happening at this time. Yeah. So whether it's 300, how much is a charging handle, like an expensive one? $125?
Yeah, like I think the Radian Raptor or something like that goes for right around 120 or somewhere in there.
So even those aren't holding, and not Radian, but that price point of what we should be getting is not holding up to what it should be right now because people are just trying to fulfill the orders that were out there.
Yeah. I think they'd probably be surprised with how much UTG stuff they're buying with other people's names on it too. Because they're one of the few companies that has things right now. And there's a lot of these companies stateside that just, it's not so much that they don't have product or can't make it, it's material. Material is hard to come by right now because steel, aluminum, all that stuff, prices went way up because China shut down, and most of that stuff was coming from China. So what's your preferred economical build, Pat? What would be your preferred economic build?
It's all depends. That's one thing. I have friends, like when I say budget, then I'm picking up, let's say like the POF trigger that's, in the 140s, and I consider that budget. But my friends, they they're going
Mil
with
spec.
So it all depends on your budget. But no, my preferred budget is to buy upper end things when people get tired of them. See, I've got an Adams Arms upper, the COR upper, their competition optics ready.
Oh yeah,
it's like an $800 upper. I picked it up for $400 because the guy had the gas turned off. So, here I've got a 16 and a half inch. It's rifle length. The gas system is. It's pretty neat. It's piston system.
Oh yeah.
So here I've got a 16 and a half inch, lightweight. It's got the Samson Evolution rail already on it, life coat voodoo on everything for $400. So that's my idea of budget, is just capitalizing on that used market.
Oh yeah, yeah, and we've come into that before. We picked up a Warthog with 7 mags, 8 mags, a ridiculous amount of magazines off a gunbroker a couple years ago for a build project we were doing, and we got that thing for like $500. And all it was is they'd taken the Series 80 safety out of it,
Yeah.
and so they couldn't get it to work because the plunger was still in there, the blocker was still there, but it had no lifter to lift it. So they couldn't figure it out. So we got, and I mean, those mags alone, especially on a discontinued pistol that's a collector's item now, are $50, $60 a piece easily. And so, to say the least, definitely used guns are always a good deal. Just be sure that you know enough about the platform to know if you're going to get something that is in a workable condition for a good deal, or you're just getting trash and you don't know it until, I went to shoot it and it blew up. So
we bought a remember that Ruger AR-15 when they first came out? We bought one off a gunbroker. It was used from a gun shop that said they got it in for a customer and it didn't work. And I can't remember what he said, that they gave it to their gunsmith and he said that the receiver was trashed. And we got it in, opened it up, and they had put the hammer spring on
backwards. Yeah, that's all it was. So instead of the hammer going forward, apparently you pull the trigger and it slaps into place, I guess.
Their
I don't know how
gunsmith
that works.
looked at this.
Yeah.
And so it was like a $1,500 rifle. We got it for $350 shipped.
And you
So
can find that stuff.
It was a good deal.
It just takes a little bit of looking. And I
You're
think
not wrong.
Go ahead, because I got to go to the latrine anyway.
I got a Remington 700 that's missing a bolt for $40. Granted, I have all the tools to do all that, but they're like, it's missing the bolt. I was like, I want it gone. I was like, I felt horrible for like just taking it. So I was like, I'll give you $40. It made me feel that much better. They're like, deal. And I was like,
So my question was without a bolt, does that make it California compliant?
No, so you still have to remove the actual gun itself and keep the wood stock and shout bang, bang, bang.
Okay, that's fair.
Oh God!
I was trying to capitalize on one earlier. A guy had this really rough old Colt, and I mean the picture's just bad. So I seen him a thing. He was wanting to trade for a 389 or a 40. So I seen him a thing, and I said, "Just what's the cash price?" And he come back and he said, "No," he said, "I just really want to trade for a gun." And I said, "Well, I know what his game is. I understand what he's trying to do. He's trying to take something that's not worth anything and trade it for something that is." So anyway, I said, "Well, what exactly do you think this thing's worth?" He said, $900 before I blew it and put grips on it. I just fell over, man. But the collectability of it's just gone. It's in such bad shape, and you have to refinish it. I was just going to take it and do, some Cerakote, do some new stuff to it. And so, yeah, that one went away because he pulled it out of some old tackle box somewhere, and he thought it was worth $900.
So
somebody told him that's worth $900 easy.
Yeah, I guarantee it.
Eric and Brandyn.
It happened maybe 2 hours ago.
Oh wow!
Well, I did.
I'll have to bring you up to steam. I found this old rough Colt that I was wanting, and it was on the classifieds. Anyway, the guy was asking to trade for a 389 or a 40. So anyway, this thing's bad, really. But I understand what he's trying to do. He's trying to take something that's not worth anything and trade it up. So anyway, he wanted to trade. I said, "Well, just what's your cash?" And he come in at $900.
Yeah, I'll buy your rest bucket for 900. Sure.
But it says Colt.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of that, there's a guy on Arms List in Asheville right now who's got one of those. Remember, what was it called? I'd have to look it up again. It's that Colt when Browning did the BDA.
Okay.
Colt came out with like the American or some crap. Oh, it's hideous. It is a hideous gun. Well, the guy, because it's, it's a collector's gun. And I'm like, not really. They made it for a year and then said, because nobody bought it. Well, I emailed him. I wanted to know. I figured, if it's between 200 and 400, be worth it. It's 9mm, high capacity mags, goofy, and it shoots like absolute garbage. But any gun that goes pew might be fun. He emails me back because they don't make them anymore, and you can't find them. He's really looking to get 1,200 out of it. No accessories, one mag, no holsters. Can't find stuff for it because they don't make it anymore. It was literally made for a year or two, and then it went, and Colt got rid of it. So I'm like, where do these people? Or my favorite ones are the ones that are like 600 cash, 800 trade value.
We have a good time with that one. Yeah,
that's
I'll
the
take
opposite
500
way.
cash for this Jennings, or 800 trade.
It's like, what?
I've literally had to ask the guys what their fingerprints are worth because that's all they've added to the gun.
That's all. How much are your fingerprints worth? That is great.
If you said that to me, I would think you're trying to use the gun in a crime at that point.
Right. Like, it depends. What are you gonna do with it?
I'm gonna off real quick and then hand it back to you.
I'm gonna go rob this bank. Hold on.
Well, I'm just talking, like it's $550 new and they're asking $6. I'm just saying, what's the handling marks worth? What are your fingerprints?
Right. So the handling added extra. It made it worth more, because they're legends in their own mind.
So
Sentimental.
One of the things Brandon will tell you about, we actually have had people send us guns and be like, I cannot take this back for 6 weeks. And it's like, why? Are you going to court? Are you hiding?
Right? Did your parole officer bust you with this? What's going on? Because it's like, and they'll never give you a reason. They never say, like, I'm on vacation or I'll be out of town or there's a wedding. No, it's just like, I can't take this back for 6 weeks. And you ask them, and they just never respond back. And it's like, all right, well.
Okay, then.
just please don't tell us when you murder someone.
Makes you wonder.
So Junior's dying to show something. He's carting around his Glock lower over here.
But what I'm excited about is we finally got the machine tuned to where we can do the back strap, the front strap. We're comfortable selling that to customers now. It's a good enough quality. That's what we're really excited about because we're just doing side to side, as you guys have known forever. So we've been growing on that now.
Cool.
Well, that's good. I need to get you Obnoxious One's frame out there. Did you do that yet on ours?
Yeah, because we got to put the bear sign on it, right?
Yeah, the Bears logo because sports. But anyway. It's going to come out a cool build. Don't get me wrong. It's just, see, there he is. It's like nice.
Yes! Go do it.
So, I got to get that out there to him. For me personally, I try not to put stuff like that on my guns because then you don't want to get rid of it. What happens? You decide you don't like all the work or it doesn't shoot right, and then you're stuck with this super custom gun. That's going to be impossible to get rid of. But knowing Obnoxious the way I do, he's listening right now like, you asshole. That man doesn't get rid of guns. He's probably got an armory big enough to make ours look tiny in comparison. So, but I think it's going to come out really cool. I've got to figure out how I'm going to do the orange inside the blue. That's going to be the hardest part, I think, is trying to make the bear orange when you get it done. We're going to test my hand painting skills.
You sent it to me Cerakoted in one color, and then I laser over the rest, and then you Cerakote the rest of that color, the other color. That might make it easier on you.
Well, that's true. I wonder what, because too, we need to play with the Cerakote some, because they did did you see that video they released just a couple months ago? Probably. You're letting my secrets out.
We saw it at SHOT Show this year. When we were walking through the show, they had their laser stuff on display. It's pretty neat.
But they can change the color of the Cerakote itself with the laser.
Mm-hmm.
So they were doing like full camo patterns out of different blues. And so it would start out, say, like their new color, blue raspberry or something like that. It'd be that color. And then as the laser made passes, it would change to different shades of blue.
The guy said at SHOT Show, he said it's really, really trick and super affordable. And I said, what's super affordable? Again, it's relative. $289,000 starting price.
Yep.
Their robotic painting arm is $100,000 less.
Such a nice guy. Such a discount.
their robotic painting arm that you literally just fill with Cerakote, hit the button, and walk away.
Well,
$100,000 less. I'm like, and I get it. The laser's doing more. Don't get me wrong. I understand.
I stared at it, and Chris was with me, and Chris was like, I don't have that much in 5 CNC mills.
Oh, man. All right. So, one of the topics I came up with tonight, and this will be more for our new shooters, more for new handgun owners, and those of you that have been training a while. You've probably come across this a time or two. I'll give you a little background information on it. The OODA Loop. All right. So what does OODA Loop stand for? Observe, orient, decide, action. So in the early 70s, there was a fighter pilot, lieutenant colonel, who came up with this term. I forget the guy's name and have to look it up. But anyhow, it was for dogfights. And what he was talking about was how pilots sit there and they have to observe, they have to orient on the target, they have to decide, and then they have to act. Well, all humans naturally do this. We do this every day. Walking around, you're looking at stuff. It's killing you. What have you got to say? You're a jerk. So I see you back there snickering and laughing. It's killing you. What do you?
No, I just got a storefront and customers keep walking in. I keep having to go over there and put my thing on view.
So where this comes into play in training is how do you interrupt the OODA Loop? And so everybody does this. So boobs work. Especially if they're my man boobs, that'll really throw them off. They're like, ah!
Sasquatch has got boobs.
But just simple little things, anything. Say, we as a society have a tendency to want to walk around with our phones in our hands and things like that. So let's say you're trundling about, situational awareness is not great, and someone comes up and they stick a gun in your face and they're going, give me all your stuff. As we've talked about before, obviously, if you're able to do it without getting shot, hurt in any way, just give them your stuff, let them go on their way. If you cannot get out of this situation, what should you do in a situation like that? Well, if you've got a phone in your hand, throw it at their face right off the bat. Just throw something at them. Drop trowel. Do anything.
So,
Tell them, I've been waiting for you, big boy. I mean, just anything.
Finally.
Right? I've been waiting for this moment my whole life. Anything to interrupt that loop, because now it's your turn.
Hey, Pat, are you previous military?
No.
Okay, so Brandon's the only one that's going to understand this. And you remember the whole ACE card?
Yeah.
So if somebody was suicidal, you were supposed to, I don't even remember, but ACE standard, assess something, whatever. And my staff sergeant comes to me and says, well, what are you going to do to distract them?
ACE certification.
And to keep them. And I literally said, I'm just going to scream ACE, punch him in the face, and then drag him down to the squadron, and we'll take care of it from there. And he's like, you come up with solutions, don't you? I said, yes, I do.
But just every day, you can come across something like that in everyday life. Yes, he's in there. Go do that to him. Debbie's in here making faces at me.
I think the important thing to remember is what he's neglecting to mention is when you reset the OODA loop, the goal is because you're resetting them back to the original step, which is observe.
Yeah, so they don't know what happened. They're going, what?
So when you reset, that's what the goal is to push that thing back to observe, to give you time to finish what you just started or to maybe come up with a better plan.
Or take your 380 and shoot them in the gut, make them let go, and then shoot them in the mouth, make them regret it, as people like to hear us. But, it's one of those things, too, that I don't think a lot of trainers touch on, honestly. I've seen a lot of local trainers, they walk you through presenting the firearm, carry, things like that, but I'm seeing a lot of stuff getting left out about that. And we'll start with Pat. What is your encountering with trainers and stuff out there in old East Etowah?
Well, we're few and far in between. So essentially, I just catch a little bit off of people that I interact with. They've had a little bit of military or law enforcement. I'll pick a little something up with them and then go on over to the next guy. So we're just kind of in this area where there really is nothing.
And that also brings up a good point in that there are still places like that all over the country that are small enough that training is hard to come by. And so it's always good to find someone that does have experience and do it like Pat's talking about. You go out, you shoot with them, you pick stuff up, and then you train by yourself in that exact same thing so that you can become proficient at it. And you can do the OODA Loop thing, and Pat will sit here and pretend like he's not a master at it, but this dude will say some stuff out of the blue that will catch you off guard. But it's a perfect example. Like, we'll be having a conversation and he'll be telling a story and something sideways comes out and he laughs and you're going, wait, what? It's as simple as something like that. Just anything to reset them back to observe, because they've already decided their behavior. They've decided they're coming up to do ill or whatever it may be. And you looking at them going, what's that? Or I've been waiting to rape a man, or something just insane.
Finally.
Makes them like, wait, what? What just happened? Because that's not what they're expecting. Everybody has an expectation of what's going to happen when they encounter a person. In your mind, we all do it. Everybody does it. In your mind, when you first walk up on someone, you're already playing the encounter in your head. And so when something completely sideways happens,
let's talk about the training thing again. And I don't know with Pat, like my mic cut out. I couldn't hear what you said at the very beginning. But I think it's important too when you're looking for training. Be realistic. If the guy that's wanting to train you is like, I used to be a Green Beret, that's fabulous. But CCW and the average operator that is the personal guy does not have this technical support behind him that a squad would have. Same thing with law enforcement. Oh, I used to be a cop. That's great. I appreciate it. However, the rules of engagement are completely different for those two applications. So you need to be careful that what you're not getting is like a fantasy weekend. Like when you go to train and you're getting, let's go shoot a bunch of holes in paper and I'll tell you war stories. That's fine if that's all you're after. If you're actually after training, make sure what they're offering is skill-based training, not war stories of how I did this when I had a crash team of medics waiting for me with a helicopter to pull me out, or there was an ambulance already en route because 911 had already been called and I had 5 other deputies. That's important to know the type of training you're purchasing.
Yeah, especially because it's not cheap.
No, and it's bad too. I mean, you don't have that aspect as an individual when you're defending yourself, your property, your vehicle, whatever. You don't have the option. 5 more deputies are on their way. EMS is in or out as well, or I don't have a healer ready to pull me and my team out.
Yeah, it's pretty much just you on your own.
Mm-hmm. And that changes your tactics. It's a very, very big difference between that.
Very, very large difference. All right, Junior, come on.
I was just going to say what Dad's saying here is he's not John Wicks because John Wicks can do anything.
That's right. We're not John Wicks. But I think
relock.
yes. I mean, we see a lot of that around here in our area a lot. WNC is terrible for some interesting trainers, we'll put it that way. And I'm not saying that we're the end all be all the classes we've taken are end all be all. We still take classes when we can. We still go shoot and do other things outside of our comfort zones because shooting is a perishable. Thank you. That's what I was looking for. A perishable
I got you, big brother. I got you.
And I know Pat probably runs into this a lot with doing YouTube stuff. People think I can shoot. Like they're like, you are an awesome shot. Well, partly that's true, but that's also because I shoot hundreds of rounds almost every week, whether it be at work or at home. But what you're seeing in videos usually is a couple of takes later because usually that first mag or two, I'm like, I can't hit the broadside of a damn barn and no one's going to buy our parts because I look terrible. It's, in Pat's instance, his followers pay for his ammo and for him to expand the channel and stuff. So what are your thoughts on that, Pat? What do you think?
Well, yeah, sometimes, like your buddies come to shoot with you and they'll either get smoked or they have an unrealistic idea of how good you shoot because there are days where you just can't shoot. I mean, you suck and that's it. But then, like my buddies will come and then I just can't miss. I'm shooting magnetic bullets. So, so it's
going straight to the steel. That's right. Go to your home.
We're either all in or not. So, that's one thing I enjoy about YouTube is just all of the different platforms. You're going to wind up with, like this last little bit, I've been working with the CZP01. Different
CZ Master Race.
Yeah, CZ Master Race. But I've gotten completely used to this P01 here, and then I'll go back to a revolver and the trigger.
CZ against the world. Sorry.
Yeah. But the trigger won't be exactly what I'm used to. So just different platforms back and forth.
And I think that brings up an important aspect, not just we talked some about the OODA Loop, but on the training side of things, don't just limit yourself to one platform. I think where people run into a lot of trouble, and you'll hear me complain. You'll hear me complain about double actions and stuff. I just don't like to shoot them. Doesn't mean I don't know how. Doesn't mean I do it well. But I know how the double action trigger operates. I know how the double action pistol operates. I know how a double action revolver is going to pull because I force myself to use those different weapons. Because, especially with all the civil unrest we're having in our country right now, and, at this point, I'm expecting someone to open the Hellraiser box in July. I mean, it's just going to get super fun this year, right? So, you've got to have. Hellraiser popped in my head and I lost my train of thought. I got excited about that. It's like, yes, Pinhead. But I think on the training side of things, people want to get with one platform and that's all they train. That's all they'll shoot. That's all they'll do. And then you stick a single action or a double action in their hand and they're like, well, this gun sucks. Well, no, it's just a different operating system. That's all it is.
Different interface. And that's, I mean, it's the same thing with like cars, though. You think about it, people get brand loyal. It's like, I only drive Chevys or only drive Dodges. And that's fine.
I think that does play into it.
You can get behind the wheel of a Honda and drive it to the grocery store.
Pat loves his Dodge. And it's fallen tailgate.
Everything but the tailgate. People they ask me, what do you think about that truck? And I'm like, from here forward, it's great.
I want you to know, Pat, by the way, back in November when we talked
Put your mic closer to your mouth.
My truck finally did that. right before.
Yeah, his truck finally did it right before he traded it in.
I was like, damn it, Pat.
Oh, well, good. You got rid of it.
He got a Prospector. He got a 2018 Prospector. So that thing's pretty pimp.
It's already had the recall done, so in theory it should.
Well, mine's had it done twice.
Yeah. Shut up.
You're letting out all the secrets.
First thing tomorrow morning, we're going to get a text in our group message. It fucking happened.
There's going to be a picture of me doing that.
Probably. I wouldn't doubt it.
Why did you do this?
So pistol size, though, and stuff, I think that depends on the situation of what you're going to do. I mean, we kind of grilled into that last week, or our last show. It was like, I have a revolver, so when I want to go in my board shorts, because I live in California, it's 110 degrees outside, and going to Walmart, I throw it in my pocket so it doesn't show. Going on a road trip, I'm grabbing the 17 with the TLR1 and the red dot strap.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, and Mike, we got the 2 G3Cs in. So next week, I'm going to start carrying this thing. All right. This is completely different from my EMP that was my dream carry gun. I carry that thing all the time. And now I'm going to a double stack again. Going from a $1,200 to a $300 double action. But the reason I'm going to try it is, quite honestly, the G3 series, the G series since the G2C has impressed us. A lot of the problems that they had with the PT-111 G2, they fixed. And now with the G3, that hitch that you get in the trigger from the way the trigger bar is gone because it's got the G3 trigger set up. So if you can see that. So it's got the nice, big, flat center safety. So you've got that nice, smooth pull all the way back. So this weekend I'll take it home and I'll put what little practice ammo I've managed to reload through it just to see how she shoots. But it's a completely different platform. So I'm going to shoot it. I'm going to dry fire with it. I'm going to train with it because I'm used to carrying a single action 1911. This is a double action, single action striker fire. So I'll have to play with it some. And I think where people get the disconnect is they buy a new gun, especially a carry gun. They immediately go home, put it on, and start walking around with it. And you really got to shoot it first, get a feel for it.
I think you don't necessarily shoot it first. I think you need to shoot it, purposely figure out how you're going to work malfunctions on it.
Oh, yeah.
Then carry it. And now people go, why would it malfunction? Because it will.
Because it's a mechanical item. That's what it's going to do.
You're going to be using it under stress, so it's not ideal. You know?
Go ahead, Junior.
Oh, no. I'm sitting on a metal chair. My ass hurts.
I was like proud of you for a minute. I thought you were going to try to loom on us or something. Like, yes. So proud of you.
But, and especially with the amount of choices that are out there, it's definitely worth picking up different pistols and trying them. Revolvers, semi-autos. You know, Pew Pew made a good point, and Pat is a huge revolver guy. But would you recommend a revolver to a first-time shooter?
Yeah, so that kind of gets tough. I really had to work at the double action, and so going, especially a snubby for a first timer, you know, you don't have much to hold on to. You know, the recoil is going to be more shorter barrel, shorter sight radius. So I just
the 3-foot ball fire out of the.
Oh yeah.
So you know, part of you wants to, but the other part says no because I mean, you know, it's simple, really easy to operate. So you kind of say, well, it would be good for a newbie, but there's several other negative
factors that play into it.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, and Pew Pew was along the same lines of, you know, it's good to practice with, but for carry, you know, you want to learn it first because it is going to be a different thing because, you know, you can't walk around with a double action, single action revolver cocked unless you really want to lose some flesh from wherever you're carrying it. Because it doesn't take much for the single action to go off. That's the whole reason of the double.
The thing with the revolver that people forget a lot of times, and I've seen it, and Brandon's seen it. We've had people bring their revolvers in, and ladies pull them out of their purse, and there's a penny or something or a dime stuffed into the cylinder. There's no way the thing will fire.
Oh yeah,
They're not carrying it safely. They're not carrying it correctly. So it's I've got it on me. It's in their purse. It's in your purse. I mean, I guess you got it on you, but it'll be in there and it'll be change stuck in it, and it's like, well, this thing wouldn't work even if you wanted it to. So there's, where a semi-auto is sealed, it's not going to have that issue, but a revolver needs to make sure you carry it correctly.
Yeah, I had a lady. It wasn't a revolver. It was a Kel-Tec P3AT. Right before I came to work for Eric, she had brought me this. He brought up the old ladies. She was probably in her mid to late 60s, possibly early 70s, and she literally comes in. There you go.
Yeah, nice. Yeah.
See, but yours is purposely set up for you, and you've shot it a bunch too. He pulled up, for those of you who will be listening later instead of watching, Pat was pulling out the revolver he's carrying on him today.
Yeah, it literally just came out of the pocket. And then talking about double action, single action, I don't even have a hammer swerve.
Yeah, see, and I think that would help with a lot of people. I had a guy that wanted me to do, when I worked down at the store, Carolina Guns and Gear, he wanted a Model 60 airweight trigger job. I did it. He didn't like how light it made the double action or the single action, because then when he comes to the store, he's telling me and Steve, my boss at the time, that he likes to carry it around cocked at the 4 o'clock position right on his butt. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what did you just say? And he said, I carry it around cocked. And I'm like, dude, you don't do that stock, let alone when I've made the trigger almost 2 pounds. Like, what are you, insane? Well, I didn't think it'd be this light. And I'm like, that's specifically what you asked for. So that's what I did. And ended up having to turn around and charge him again to return it all back to stock.
Oh, no.
Because he decided it was too light. But that's a prime example, because that's somebody who someone had told them it's perfectly safe to carry a double action, single action revolver locked and cocked to the rear in a holster right on a part of your body where you're getting in and out of cars, bumping into stuff. What happens? You sit down too hard in your seat and that hammer says, oh, well, there we go. And then you just shot yourself directly in the ass with a 357 or a 38 plus P. Not going to be a good time.
I just shot myself.
Yes. Tex Grebner.
As long as you have the hat on, you're cool.
He comes up in the shop about once every 2 weeks just because, I just shot myself. Yeah, that's exactly what he did.
I got to give that guy credit there. I've never met the guy, but I got to give him credit. I would have deleted that video like that.
Immediately. That would have never made it to the internet. Yeah, and then, even if it had, I wouldn't have gone on Tosh.0 for a web redemption, because that got, dude, if anyone out there listening or watching knows who we're talking about, just Google Tex Grebner and you'll get the YouTube video. Pat's down here laughing because he knows. He said, I just shot myself.
Hey, for those of you listening, this was a running joke at SHOT Show that year.
Oh,
People
yeah.
had the hats on and shirts that said, I just shot myself. They did, seriously. They did.
And he's firing from retention. He's using a Serpa holster and a Kimber and shoots himself right in the leg. So then he posts a video. Daniel Tosh gets a hold of it for Tosh.0 and has him come on the show, and he does it. This is when you find out Tex Grebner's not from Texas. He's from like Arkansas or something like that, like nowhere near Tex. Well, I just like the name. And the more you listen to this, dude, you're just like, wow, you are one of those people they talk about that shouldn't have guns. My favorite part in the show when he's doing the Tosh show, though, he's like, well, what would what's your dream pistol? He goes, Desert Eagle. How about them Jews? And he does the same look on his face and everything, and it just dead quiet. Like even Daniel Tosh is like, dude.
So we've actually used this video when people are like, well, I don't carry 9mm because it's 45 on stun. I'm like, hey, watch this.
Oh yeah,
Not only
yeah,
did he
because
shoot
he
himself
walks
with
it
one
off.
bullet, he shoots himself with one bullet that goes through his body and out again in his leg, and he walks it off. Well, that's a bad shot. That's perfect. You shot him in the leg. Like you just said you don't want to kill anybody, and there's your theory. It doesn't work.
I just met you, Pat. I'm going to count you as a friend now because you're good with these two knuckleheads. I just want everybody on here to know if we're ever out shooting and I get it on video, I will not let you delete it. It is going on YouTube.
I just shot myself.
You better respect your daddy, is all.
But I expect the same out of you guys if I did the same thing.
I just hope not to have any negligent discharges around anybody.
Oh,
Right.
So speaking of NDs,
oh.
I had one just a couple weeks ago with a revolver. First one in my entire life and in front of my 12-year-old. So I looked like awesome sauce. It's a little 732 piece of junk H&R 32 Smith & Wesson. I finally got the thing up and running. I go to load it. I'm not paying attention to the back of the receiver, and there was a burr right where when you load the cylinder, lock it in place, and the firing pin, there was a burr right there. As soon as I snapped that cylinder shut, that thing went bang in the garage. Scared the absolute hell out of me. My little girl turned, she was like, she was still putting her earplugs in too. So she's like, that's really loud. And I'm like, I have never done this in my entire life. And I just did it in front of my kid. But luckily it was 32 Smith & Wesson, which I looked for the hole in the wall and couldn't find it. Hell, the drywall probably deflected it, quite honestly. Because I had a fire extinguisher that I'd used. And so I took the aluminum case and we shot it with that 732. It went through one side, hit the other side of the aluminum, and the bullet just fell whole down inside. I was like, oh, yeah, this is definitely not a self-defense gun at all. So it was a lead bullet, just whoop. I found one stuck in, after you left that day, Eric, coming to get all the stuff, and we were bringing it back here. I found one stuck in the wood with all the 22. Nice. From the Calibris. So yeah, 32 Smith & Wesson. Don't use it for self-defense. So
we shot a 40 cal Tula bullet into one of those poppers, the spring-loaded poppers, out of a Glock 23. It hit that, came back, and went down my shirt. It went bing. I was like, oh god. It hit the popper, and the popper shot it back at me. It went down my shirt. So
see, when I tell you it's your ammo, I'm not blowing it up your butt. Really it can definitely be your ammo.
A spring-loaded popper threw it back 50 feet.
We had a negligent, I guess it's been about 5 or 6 weeks ago. I put a buddy of mine on that suppressed lever. I had it loaded up with subsonics. And he rags it. He comes back and just nails a trigger. It goes, it doesn't even bang. It just boom. He looks at me and I said, yeah.
Yeah, you did that. And I mean, and it can happen. It does. Like I totally was not expecting closing a cylinder on a hammer down revolver for it to go bang when I closed the cylinder. But it did, and so but as usual, practicing firearm safety, I had it pointed in a safe direction. My daughter was behind me, nobody on the other side of the wall. It goes into the basement, into a concrete wall. So everybody was fine, but it was like I can't believe I just did that. And the first thing that popped in my head was Tex Scribner. And I almost said, I can't. And then I realized my daughter's standing there and she'd have been like, you shot yourself? Like, no, sorry. Daddy's brain went into a weird place. Sorry about that. That was the first thing that ran through my head was, I just shot myself.
Brandyn Brandon and Eric both heard this story. I had a customer bring in a Glock that they decided to build, and they're like, hey, I'm having some firing issues with it. I said, okay, let me go take the test firing tube. I go through the whole mag myself. Joe, our other guy, I said, okay, maybe I'm shooting differently or something. He grabs the gun, and he hits the slide stop, and it slams fires the whole magazine within like 5 seconds. And it goes up, and we're shooting the wall now, shooting into the tube.
Oh, yeah.
And I look at Joe, I said, are you okay? And you just see me grab the medic kit, and I go run outside because there's a parking lot behind us. I'm like, there's somebody floundering in the parking lot right now, not knowing what to hit them. Like, but safe direction. Thankfully, went in 2x4, it stopped, but it was just one of those things. You're like, I killed somebody. I'm going to jail.
Oh, yeah. Like that just happened.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I don't know what to, because you want to be mad. You want to but your brain's like, I can't believe that just happened, especially when you do what we three do for a living.
Yeah.
And Patrick does on the side. All four of us are like, I can't believe I just did that. Pat is good. He's not part of the club yet.
Told us a story about a 1911 where a guy had a runaway on him, and that's why you only go 1 round in a mag, test fire. 2 rounds in a mag, test fire. 3 rounds, after 2, you're good. Go for it, because otherwise it runs away. And, the moral of the story is you get what happened with Eric and Joe, but it's like, just for reference, a 1911 5-inch barrel, it does have a 2,600 round per minute cyclic rate on full auto, in case you're wondering.
yeah, very fast. It's also a good way to put 4 holes in your leg and 2 holes in your arm and take it back to the guy you took it to begin with. And go, I'll let you do this.
That's how I learned how to load a magazine when you test fire a semi-auto hammer-fired gun for the first time. That was the story it was given to me, and I was like, learned.
I learned from this. Well, all right, guys, we're coming down to our last couple minutes on episode 5. So we will pull up here. We're going to talk about Pat for a hot second. If you're wanting to see the happiest man on the face of the planet do some really cool gun videos, you can find him on Instagram at Pat RMG Official, on his YouTube page, which is growing daily. Get in on it at Pat RMG. And you know where to find us. That'll be in the links below. But that almost came out wrong. I started to say, any last words, Pat? You come on our show and we kill you at the end.
What could be a meal? What's my last meal?
Well, I got an empty Mountain Dew Zero bottle, coffee beans.
And I got some combat underwear for you.
Ooh.
There's that. Yes, combat underwear. That's right. You need to show them that before we sign off there. The combat under tag.
I'll do that next episode. I'll have a model and everything. I'll demonstrate how everything works.
Where I got some of this. Got some zombie brain juice.
Hey, that's all right. Some thunderwear and some zombie brain juice. That's all right.
There you go. That's a great day. You got both heads covered. All right. Well, we greatly appreciate you joining us tonight, Pat. Thanks for coming on. I believe we all had a good time. I hope you did too.
Yes.
Pop that up one more time for everybody watching. Again, find Pat on Instagram at Pat_RMG_official, on YouTube, Pat RMG. And that's going to wrap it up for us, guys. Eric and Junior, if you want to sign off, and we'll get on out of here.
I just want Pat to know we just became best friends after this episode.
Well, thank you very much. I needed a new friend today.
Are you going to go in the garage and do karate?
Well, Pat, I just want to let you know I'm going to keep you as a friend. But,
We need to meet up at another show sometime, man.
We do. You're so close, we don't have any excuses, honestly.
Yeah, we don't.
Yeah. We need to get down here. We need to get together and do some video. We're only about 2.5 hours apart from each other, roughly.
Yeah.
It'll take
Well,
me
my
7
house.
hours
My
on
house. Let me make a caveat. My house in Leicester, we're only a couple hours away. Hey, add about 30 to 45 minutes past my house to get all the way out here. But I have a range at my house, so I'm just saying. Just saying.
You build a range, and I will show.
Build the
About
range, and he will
10
come.
minutes from here, I have a range. I've got set up a steel.
I got a test fire tube and a hole in the wall.
Well, the hole in the wall is a glory hole, but we're not going to tell people that. Oh, whoops.
Is it $5 or 10 or 20? What is
Hey, a penny's a penny around here.
it?
Pennies a penny. Hey, $20 is $20. I'm just saying. So on that note, that's going to wrap this one up, guys. We greatly appreciate all of you who joined us for the live stream and who will listen to the download later. This is Eric, Brandon, Eric, and Pat signing off. And as always, be safe, be accurate, and God bless.